Bordeaux is a port city on the Garonne River in the Gironde department in southwestern France. The municipality of Bordeaux proper has a population of 243,626. Together with its suburbs and satellite towns, Bordeaux is the center of the Bordeaux Métropole, which with 749,595 inhabitants is the fifth largest in France. It is the capital of the Aquitaine-Limousin-Poitou-Charentes region, as well as the prefecture of the Gironde department. Its inhabitants are called Bordelais or Bordelises. The term Bordelais may also refer to the city and its surrounding region. The city's titles are Le Pearl d'Aquitaine and Le Bel Endormi, in reference to the old centre which had black walls due to pollution. Nowadays, this is not the case. In fact, a part of the city, Le Port de la Lune, was almost completely renovated. Bordeaux is the city which has the highest number of preserved historical buildings in France, except for Paris. Bordeaux is the world's major wine industry capital. It is home to the world's main wine fair, Vinexpo, while the wine economy in the metro area takes in €14.5 billion each year. Bordeaux wine has been produced in the region since the 8th century. The historic part of the city is on the UNESCO World Heritage List as an outstanding urban and architectural ensemble of the 18th century. History. In historical times, around 300 BCE, it was the settlement of a Celtic tribe, the Bituriges Vivaci, who named the town Berdegala, probably of Aquitanian origin. The name Bord is still the name of a river south of the city. In 107 BCE, the Battle of Berdegala was fought by the Romans, who were defending the Allobroges, a Gallic tribe allied to Rome, and the Tigrini led by Divico. The Romans were defeated and their commander, the consul Lucius Cassius Longinus, was killed in the action. The city fell under Roman rule around 60 BC, its importance lying in the commerce of tin and lead towards Rome. Later it became capital of Roman Aquitaine, flourishing especially during the Severan dynasty. In 276 it was sacked by the Vandals. Further ravage was brought by the same Vandals in 409, the Visigoths in 414 and the Franks in 498, beginning a period of obscurity for the city. In the late 6th century, the city re-emerged as the seat of a county and an archdiocese within the Merovingian kingdom of the Franks. But royal Frankish power was never strong. The city started to play a regional role as a major urban centre on the fringes of the newly founded Frankish Duchy of Vasconia. Around 585, of certain Gallictorius is cited as Count of Bordeaux and fighting the Basques. The city was plundered by the troops of Abd er-Rahman in 732 after storming the fortified city and overwhelming the Aquitanian garrison. Duke Eudes mustered a force ready to engage the Umayyads outside Bordeaux, eventually taking on them in the Battle of the River Garonne somewhere near the River Dordogne, described as taking a heavy death toll. After Duke Eudes' defeat, the Aquitanian Duke could still save part of its troops and keep his grip on Aquitaine after the Battle of Poitiers. In 735, the Aquitanian Duke Hunald led a rebellion after his father Eudes' death, at which Charles responded by sending an expedition that captured and plundered Bordeaux again, but it was not retained for long. The following year, the Frankish commander descended again over Aquitaine, but clashed in battle with the Aquitanians and left to take on hostile Burgundian authorities and magnates. In 745, Aquitaine faced yet another expedition by Charles's sons Pepin and Carloman against Hunald, the Aquitanian princeps strong in Bordeaux. Hunald was defeated, and his son Wafer replaced him, who in turn confirmed Bordeaux as the capital city. During the last stage of the war against Aquitaine, it was one of Wafer's last important strongholds to fall to King Pepin the Short's troops. Next to Bordeaux, Charlemagne built the fortress of France.It on a hill across the border with the Basques, where Basque commanders came over to vow loyalty to him. In 778, Seguin was appointed Count of Bordeaux, probably undermining the power of the Duke Lupo, and possibly leading to the Battle of Roncesvalles Pass that very year. In 814, Seguin was made Duke of Vasconia, but he was deposed in 816 for failing to suppress or sympathize with a Basque rebellion. Under the Carolingians, sometimes the Counts of Bordeaux held the title concomitantly with that of Duke of Vasconia. They were meant to keep the Basques in check and defend the mouth of the Garonne from the Vikings when the latter appeared c. 844 in the region of Bordeaux. In autumn 845, Count Seguin II marched on the Vikings assaulting Bordeaux and Saintes, but was captured and put to death. There are no bishops mentioned during the whole 8th century and part of the 9th in Bordeaux. For the 12th to the 15th century, Bordeaux regained importance following the marriage of Duchess Eleanor of Aquitaine with the French-speaking Count Henry Plantagenet, born in Le Mans, who became, within months of the wedding, King Henry II of England. The city flourished, primarily due to the wine trade, and the Cathedral of St. André was built. It was also the capital of an independent state under Edward, the Black Prince, but in the end, after the Battle of Castellon, it was annexed by France, which extended its territory. The Château Trompet and the Fort du Har, built by Charles VII of France, were the symbols of the new domination, which however deprived the city of its wealth by halting the wine commerce with England. In 1462, Bordeaux obtained a parliament, but regained importance only in the 16th century when it became the center of the distribution of sugar and slaves from the West Indies along with the traditional wine. Bordeaux adhered to the Fronde, being effectively annexed to the Kingdom of France only in 1653, when the army of Louis XIV entered the city. The 18th century was the golden age of Bordeaux. Many downtown buildings, including those on the quays, are from this period. Victor Hugo found the town so beautiful he once said, "Take Versailles, add Antwerp, and you have Bordeaux." Baron Haussmann, a long-time prefect of Bordeaux, used Bordeaux's 18th-century large-scale rebuilding as a model when he was asked by Emperor Napoleon III to transform a then still quasi-medieval Paris into a modern capital that would make France proud. In 1814, towards the end of the Peninsular War, the Duke of Wellington sent William Beresford with 2 divisions, who seized Bordeaux without much resistance on the 12th of March. Bordeaux was largely anti-Bonapartist and had a majority that supported the Bourbons, so the British troops were treated as liberators. In 1870, at the beginning of the Franco-Prussian War against Prussia, the French government temporarily relocated to Bordeaux from Paris. This happened again during the First World War and again very briefly during the Second World War, when it became clear that Paris would soon fall into German hands. However, on the last of these occasions the French capital was soon moved again to Vichy. In May and June 1940, Bordeaux was the site of the life-saving actions of the Portuguese Consul General Aristides de Sousa Mendes, who illegally granted thousands of Portuguese visas, which were needed to pass the Spanish border, to refugees fleeing the German occupation. From 1940 to 1943, the Italian Royal Navy established BETASOM, a submarine base at Bordeaux. Italian submarines participated in the Battle of the Atlantic from this base, which was also a major base for German U-boats as headquarters of 12th U-boat flotilla. The massive, reinforced concrete U-boat pens have proved impractical to demolish and are now partly used as a cultural center for exhibitions. Geography. Bordeaux is located close to the European Atlantic coast, in the southwest of France and in the north of the Aquitaine region. It is around 500 kilometers southwest of Paris. The city is built on a bend of the river Garonne and is divided into two parts, the right bank to the east and left bank in the west. Historically, the left bank is more developed because when flowing outside the bend, the water makes a furrow of the required depth to allow the passing of merchant ships, which used to offload on this side of the river. In Bordeaux, the Garonne River is accessible to ocean liners. The right bank of the Garonne is a low-lying or often marshy plain. Climate. Bordeaux's climate is usually classified as an oceanic climate. However, the summers tend to be warmer and the winters milder than most areas of similar classification. Substantial summer rainfall prevents its climate from being classified as Mediterranean. Winters are cool because of the prevalence of westerly winds from the Atlantic. Summers are warm and long due to the influence from the Bay of Biscay. The average seasonal winter temperature is 7.1 degrees Celsius, but recent winters have been warmer than this. Frosts in the winter are commonplace, occurring several times during a winter, but snowfall is very rare, occurring only once every 3 years. The average summer seasonal temperature is 20.7 degrees Celsius. The summer of 2003 set a record with an average temperature of 23.3 degrees Celsius. Economy. Bordeaux is a major center for business in France as it has the fifth largest metropolitan population in France. As of 2014, the GDP of Bordeaux is €32.7 billion. Wine. The vine was introduced to the Bordeaux region by the Romans, probably in the mid-1st century, to provide wine for local consumption, and wine production has been continuous in the region since. Bordeaux now has about 116,160 hectares of vineyards, 57 appellations, 10,000 wine-producing chateaux and 13,000 grape growers, with an annual production of approximately 960 million bottles. Bordeaux produces large quantities of everyday wine as well as some of the most expensive wines in the world. Included among the latter are the area's 5 premier CRU red wines, established by the Bordeaux Wine Official Classification of 1855. The first growths are Chateau Lafite Rothschild, Chateau Margaux, Chateau Latour, Chateau O'Brien, Chateau Mouton Rothschild. In 1855, Mouton Rothschild was ranked as second growth. In 1973, it was elevated to first growth status. Both red and white wines are made in Bordeaux. Red Bordeaux is called Claret in the United Kingdom. Red wines are generally made from a blend of grapes, and may be made from Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and, less commonly in recent years, Carmenère. White Bordeaux is made from Sauvignon Blanc, Sémillon, and Muscadel. Sauternes is a sub-region of Graves known for its intensely sweet, white, dessert wines such as Chateau d'Yquem. Because of a wine glut in the generic production, the price squeeze induced by an increasingly strong international competition, and vine pool schemes, the number of growers has recently dropped from 14,000 and the area under vine has also decreased significantly. In the meantime, the global demand for first growth growths and the most famous labels markedly increased and the prices skyrocketed. The Cité du Vin, a museum as well as a place of exhibitions, shows, movie projections and academic seminars on the theme of wine, opened its doors in June 2016. Others. The laser megajoule will be one of the most powerful lasers in the world, allowing fundamental research and the development of the laser and plasma technologies. This project, carried by the French Ministry of Defense, involves an investment of €2 billion. The Road of the Lasers, a major project of regional planning, promotes regional investment in optical and laser-related industries, leading to the Bordeaux area having the most important concentration of optical and laser expertise in Europe. Some 20,000 people work for the aeronautic industry in Bordeaux. The city has some of the biggest companies including Dassault, EADS Sogerma, Snecma, Thales, SNPE, and others. The Dassault Falcon private jets are built there as well as the military aircraft Rafale and Mirage 2000, the Airbus A380 Cockpit, the boosters of Ariane 5, and the M51 SLBM missile. Tourism, especially wine tourism, is a major industry. Globelink Co. UK mentioned Bordeaux as the best tourist destination in Europe in 2015. Access to the port from the Atlantic is via the Gironde estuary. Almost 9 million tons of goods arrive and leave each year. Major companies: Arena, Sea Discount, Cultura, Dassault, EADS Composites, EADS Sogerma, EADS Space Transportation, Ford Motor Company, Lectra, Lou Marie Brizot, McKesson Corporation, Oxbow, Ricard, Sanofi Aventis, Smurfit Kappa, SNECMA, SNPE, Selectron, Thales Group, William Peters. Population. At the January 2011 census, there were 239,399 inhabitants in the city proper of Bordeaux. Bordeaux in its heyday had a population of 262,662 in 1968. The majority of the population is French, but there are sizable groups of Italians, Spaniards, Portuguese, Turks, Germans. The built-up area has grown for more than a century beyond the municipal borders of Bordeaux due to urban sprawl, so that by the January 2011 census there were 1,140,668 people living in the overall metropolitan area of Bordeaux, only a fifth of whom lived in the city proper. Population change sources. LDHEHESS Cassini until 1962. INSEE database from 1968. Population over time. Politics. At the 2007 presidential election, the Bordelais gave 31.37% of the votes to Ségolène Royal of the Socialist Party against 30.84% to Nicolas Sarkozy, president of the UMP. Then came François Bayrou with 22.01%, followed by Jean-Marie Le Pen who recorded 5.42%. None of the other candidates exceeded the 5% mark. Nationally, Nicolas Sarkozy lead with 31.18%, then Ségolène Royal with 25.87%, followed by François Bayrou with 18.57%, after Jean-Marie Le Pen with 10.44%. None of the other candidates exceeded the 5% mark. In the second round, the city of Bordeaux placed Ségolène Royal 52.44% against head with 47.56% for Nicolas Sarkozy, the latter being elected President of the Republic with 53.06% against 46.94% for Ségolène Royal. The abstention amounts to Bordeaux in the first round and 14.52% in the second round of 15.90%. This is an earthquake in Bordeaux, a city deeply rooted right symbol for the latter city. In the parliamentary elections of 2007, the left won 8 constituencies against only 3 right. It should be added that after the partial 2008, the 8th district of Gironde will switch to the left, bringing to 9 the account. In Bordeaux, the left is for the first time in its history the majority, as it holds 2-3 constituencies following the elections. In the first division of the Gironde, the outgoing UMP MP Chantal Bourguet well ahead with 44.81% against 25.39% for only the socialist candidate Béatrice de Saix. In the second round, it was Chantal Bourguet who was re-elected with 54.45% against 45.55% for his socialist opponent. In the second district of Gironde confront the UMP mayor and all-new Minister of Ecology, Energy, Sustainable Development and the Sea Alain Juppé facing the General Council PS Michel Delaunay. In the first round, Alain Juppé is well ahead with 43.73% against 31.36% for Michel Delaunay. In the second round, it was finally Michel Delaunay who won the election with 50.93% of the votes against 49.07% for Alain Juppé, the advance being only 670 votes. The defeat of the so-called constituency mayor shows that Bordeaux rocking increasingly left. Finally, on the third constituency of the Gironde, Noël Maymere is well ahead with 39.82% against 28.42% for only the UMP candidate Elizabeth Vine. In the second round, it's Christmas Maymere is re-elected with 62.82% against 37.18% for his rival right. In 2008 held municipal elections saw the clash between Mayor of Bordeaux, Alain Juppé, and the President of the Regional Council of Aquitaine, Socialist Alain Rousset. The PS had put a socialist heavyweight Gironde and had put great hopes in this election after the victory of Ségolène Royal and Michel Delaunay in 2007. However, after a rather exciting campaign is Alain Juppé, who was widely elected in the first round with 56.62%, far ahead of Alain Rousset, who has managed to get 34.14%. At present, of the 8 cantons that has Bordeaux, 5 and 3 are at the PS to the UMP, left munching at every election a little bit on the right electorate. In the European elections of 2009, Bordeaux voters largely voted for the UMP list Dominique Baudis, who won 31.54% against 15.00% for only a list PS Kader Arif. The list of Europe Ecology José Bové has released its game arrived second with 22.34%. None of the other lists have reached the 10% mark. The 2009 European elections are like the previous ones in 8 constituencies. Bordeaux is located in the district southwest. Here are the results. UMP list Dominique Baudis, 26.89%. His list gets 4 seats. PS list Kader Arif, 17.79%. 2 seats in the European Parliament. Europe Ecology list Bové, 15.83%. 2 seats were obtained. Modem list Robert Rochefort, 8.61%. 1 a seat. List Left Front of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, 8.16%. The last seat deserves. At regional elections in 2010, the socialist incumbent President Alain Rousset won the first round by totaling 35.19% in Bordeaux. but this score is lower than the Gironde and Aquitaine plan. Then arrived Xavier Darcos, Minister of Labour, who got 28.40% of the votes, score above the regional and departmental average. Then come Monique de Marco, Green candidate, which totals 13.40%, followed by the member of Pyrenees Atlantiques and candidate of the Modem Jean Lassalle, who registers a low 6.78%, while it is qualified to the second round on the whole Aquitaine. It is closely followed by Jacques Colombier, candidate of the National Front, which gets 6.48%. Finally comes the candidate of the Left Front, Gerard Boulanger, which totals 5.64%. No other candidate from the 5% mark. In the second round, Alain Rousset is needed, largely carried away by the waivers. National totals rose 55.83%. If Xavier Darcos largely loses the election, he nevertheless achieves a score above the regional and departmental average, obtaining 33.40%. Jean Lassalle, who qualified for the second round, passes the 10% mark by totaling 10.77%. The ballot is marked by abstention, amounted to 55.51% in the first round and 53.59% in the second round. Only candidates obtaining more than 5% are listed. Municipal administration. The mayor of the city is Alain Juppé. Bordeaux is the capital of 5 cantons and the prefecture of the Gironde and Aquitaine. The town is divided into 3 districts, the first 3 of Gironde. The headquarters of urban community of Bordeaux Métropole is located in the neighborhood, and the city is at the head of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry that bears his name. The number of inhabitants of Bordeaux is greater than 199,999 and less than 250,000, and so the number of municipal councillors is 61. They are divided according to the following composition. Mayors of Bordeaux. Since 1947, there have been 3 mayors of Bordeaux, 1947 to 1995, Jacques Chaban-Delmas 1995 to 2004, Alain Juppé 2004 to 2006, Hugues Martin 2006 present. Alain Juppé RPR was renamed to UMP in 2002, which was later renamed to Les Republicans in 2015. Education. University. The university was created by the Archbishop Eberland in 1441 and was abolished in 1793, during the French Revolution, before reappearing in 1808 with Napoleon I. Bordeaux accommodates approximately 70,000 students on one of the largest campuses of Europe. The University of Bordeaux is divided into 4. The University Bordeaux 1, 10,693 students in 2002. The University Bordeaux 2, Bordeaux-Ségalen, 15,038 students in 2002. The University Bordeaux 3, Michel de Montaigne, 14,785 students in 2002. The University Bordeaux 4, Montesquieu, 12,556 students in 2002. Institute of Political Sciences of Bordeaux. Although technically a part of the 4th university, it largely functions autonomously. Schools. Bordeaux has numerous public and private schools offering undergraduate and postgraduate programs. Engineering schools. Arts et Métiers. Paristech, Graduate School of Industrial and Mechanical Engineering. École d'ingénieurs en modélisation mathématique et mécanique. École nationale et supérieure d'électronique, informatique, télécommunications, mathématiques et mécanique de Bordeaux. École supérieure de technologie des biomolécules de Bordeaux. École nationale d'ingénieurs des travaux agricoles de Bordeaux. École nationale et supérieure de chimie et physique de Bordeaux. École pour l'informatique et les nouvelles technologies, Institut des sciences et techniques des aliments de Bordeaux, Institut de cognitique, École supérieure d'informatique, École privée des sciences informatiques, Business and Management Schools, the Bordeaux Embar, IUT Techniques de Commercialisation of Bordeaux, INSEEC Business School, Kedge Business School, the Vatel Bordeaux International Business School, IARTSUP, Institut Supérieur Européen de Gestion Group, Institut Supérieur Européen de Formation par l'Action, other École Nationale de la Magistrature, École d'Architecture et de Paysage de Bordeaux, École des Beaux-Arts de Bordeaux, École Française des Attachés de Presse et des Professionnels de la Communication, Conservatoire National des Arts et Métiers d'Aquitaine, Weekend Education, the École Complémentaire Japonaise de Bordeaux, a part-time Japanese supplementary school, is held in the Salle de l'Athénée Municipal in Bordeaux.